Hello and welcome to this video where I'm going to go through some of the questions from the Paper 1 Foundation tier in 2019, summer 2019. So I'm going to focus on questions that were set specifically for homework for my class, that's in 2023, but I will be talking about all of the questions very briefly. So first page, those first 5-6 marks, quick fire, always single mark questions that you want to try and be getting as many of as possible. Converting minutes into hours, so a couple of ways of thinking about it. 1 hour is 60 minutes. You can see to turn 60 into 180 you would multiply by 3, so I need to multiply both by 3. Alternatively, you can say, well, to convert minutes into hours, you just divide by 60. 180 divided by 60 is equal to 3. Turning 0.73 into a percentage, you need to multiply by 100 to give you 73%. 10 multiplied by 3 plus 5. I've underlined the brackets first because BidMaths tells us that we must do our brackets first. So that 3 plus 5 becomes 8, and 10 times 8 is 80. And you can have two answers for question 4. 23 and 29 are prime numbers between 20 and 30, the only two. Okay, this is the first question, question 5, I set specifically for homework for my set this week. The number is exactly halfway between 7 and 15, so you could trial and error this, just see which number has got the same amount either side of it. But this formula will always work. If you add together the two numbers and then divide by 2, you will find the midpoint. Alternatively, and I should have added this in earlier, you could work out the difference between the two numbers. So 15 take away 7 gives you 8, and half that difference, because half of the difference is going to be below your middle number, half of the distance will be above it. So if you divide 8 by 2, you get 4, and you will essentially want to add 4 onto 7 or take it away from 15. That will give you 11. Question 6, the first wordy question where you do have to be really careful and read the question carefully. Notice I've put a box around where it says each person, and also the fact that it's a holiday for 7 days. So we're given the details of the travel, that's just a fixed cost for each person, and the spending money, again a fixed cost for each person. Hotel's slightly different, it's £50 for each day. Now we are told that Harry's going on holiday for 7 days. That means you need to do 7 times 50, that's £350 for a week. That gives you 1 mark. Showing that working out, really important, please do include it. The total per person then, that is going to be 150 plus 350 plus 250. That's £750 each, and you need to multiply that by 4. 4 times by 750 gives you £3,000. Okay, so that is the total cost of a holiday for 4 people for 7 days. Obviously, if there are other ways to work it out, I would encourage you potentially at the end of an exam just to double check it using a different method. Okay, question 7, you'll probably notice I made a mistake when I was originally writing this down, because it is very easy to misread a bar chart. This time, I suppose, you could also call it a line graph here. Same idea as a bar chart in terms that you read across, but obviously it is just represented by lines. We're told the total number of flowers is 30, so this clearly shows us there are 8 red flowers, there are 10 white flowers, and that line is between the 4 and 6, there are 5 yellow flowers. So in total we've got 23 red, white and yellow flowers. We know the rest are blue, so there will be 7 blue. And the mode, so that is the flower that appears the most often. We can clearly see, I mean, if I did draw in blue flowers, it would only come up to here. Clearly, this is the most common flower. So white is your answer, not 10. So be careful of that. Question 8. Write the following fractions in order of size, starting with the smallest. So I'd always encourage you to convert to the same denominator. It just makes ordering so much easier. 1/3 is going to become, oh sorry, I'm going to rewind a little bit. We've got denominators of 3, 4, 4, 12 and 2. So you want to be thinking, what do those numbers all go into? So they do all go into 12. They also go into 24, 36, 48, any of those. But keep it simple, convert them all into something over 12. So 1/3 becomes 4/12. You multiply the top and bottom by 4. 3/4 becomes 9/12. You multiply the numerator and denominator by 3. 1/4 becomes 3/12. The numerator and denominator multiplied by 3. 7/12 is already in the format you need, so you can just leave it. And 1/2 you're going to multiply the top and the bottom by 6. And then it's just a case of seeing, well, what's the smallest numerator? Well, 3 is the smallest numerator. That means 1/4 is the smallest. Next smallest is 4, so 1/3 is your next fraction. 6 is the next smallest, so 1/2 is your next fraction. 7/12, because 7 is the next smallest, or next biggest, sorry. And finally 9/12, or 3/4. 2 marks there. You would still get the marks if you left them in their equivalent forms. So if you just put this list into order, you'd be okay there. Ruth left her home at 9 AM and walked to the library. She got to the library at 10:30 AM. She walked at a speed of 4 miles per hour. How far did she walk? We know speed is equal to distance over time. So I'm going to just plug in the values that I know. So that walk was 1.5 hours. Okay, 1 hour and 30 minutes, that's 1.5 hours. We already know the speed is 4. So I'm going to plug in the speed is 4, time is 1.5. So let's just rearrange that. Multiply both sides by 1.5, it gives you 6. And Ruth got to the library at 10:30 AM. She stayed at the library for 50 minutes. She then walked home. It took her 1.25 hours to walk home. What time did she get home? So I always like to do this in chunks. She left the library at 11:20 AM. If you add 50 minutes on to 10:30, well, half an hour will take you to 11, and there's an extra 20 minutes to take you to 11:20. We've then got an hour and a quarter to use up. And you can do it in any order. I always like to add on the smaller amount first. So if you add on that 15 minutes, that quarter of an hour, you get to 11:35, and then another hour takes you to 12:35. 4 marks in total there for that question. Question 10 wasn't covered in my homework, but it's still useful to see. If you have an equation that looks like this, collect together all of your like terms first. Instead of saying t plus t plus t equals 12, say 3t equals 12, and then solve normally. Here you're going to add 2 to both sides to give you x equals 8. And here you need to be very careful of your order. You're going to take away the 2 first to give you 6w equals 18. Then you're going to divide both sides by 6. It's really important you don't divide by 6 first of all, because you're going to end up with some horrible fractions there. Think about BIDMAS, think about the order that the equation was created in. You must undo it in the correct order. Question 11, 74 times by 58. It's almost certain you're going to get a multiplication question come up in the paper. It's worth 2 marks, but it's 2 marks you do need to be getting. So I'd encourage you to be really careful with it. Show full working out, you get 1 mark for the working out. Whatever method works best for you. I always prefer grid, so I've just laid it out like this. So very clearly doing my individual multiplications and then adding them together. 4,292. Question 12. A, B and C are perpendicular lines. So it's okay to do this in an exam. You can write down that they meet at 90 degrees. You can write down any facts that you know. You know that this angle that they create is 90 degrees. So you know 90, take away 25, take away 25, gives you your unknown value of x. That's what's left over. Alternatively, you can say, well, 25 plus 25 plus x is 90. and you get an equation which I could just write down. 90 is equal to 25 plus 25 plus x. And again, so in a similar way, x is equal to 40. So, next question. Hopefully whenever you see this sort of pattern, you are thinking about your parallel line facts. We're told R, S and T, U are parallel lines. We're told that PQ is a straight line. An angle of size 125 degrees is shown on the diagram. We need to write down the letter of one other angle, which is 125 degrees. So we can see here, the two I've written, you could say these are both 125 degrees. So D, because corresponding angles are equal, or B, vertically opposite angles are equal. And we know that A plus B plus C equals 235 degrees, because we know angles at a point sum to 360 degrees. And if you take away that 125 from 360, you'll be left with 235. Okay, question 13. Again, it wasn't in the homework that I set for this week, but to turn centimetres into millimetres, you multiply by 10. So if you had x centimetres, you would have 10x millimetres. 1/5 of 70. Remember, if you want to find a fraction of an amount, non-calculator, divide by the denominator, multiply by the numerator. So 70 divided by 5 is 14, and I haven't written down 14 times 1 is 14 because it obviously is right. We're just going to leave it as that, 14. Fiona has to work out the exact value of 48 divided by 1/2. She writes that 48 divided by 1/2 is 24, and there are 2 halves in 1, so it will be 24 halves in 48. Hopefully straight away you can see she's gone wrong there. So just the very short sentence I wrote was she divided 48 by 2, not multiplied by 2. Value of 64 is 8. You could say plus minus 8. Don't worry too much about that though. And 5 cubed is 125. 5 times 5 times 5. Right, when you are expanding and factorising as well, having a grid is really helpful. It helps you focus your mind on what's happening. So you are going to be doing 5 times 2m, that is 10m. 5 times minus 3, that is minus 15. And you're going to write it all on one line. Now your factorising part, you can see this is a linear factorisation. There's no horrible powers in it. It's not of the form n squared plus something n plus another number. It's linear. So you need to spot what your highest common factor is. And here we can see the highest common factor is 3. So that is why I put it on the outside here. I put 3n and 12 on the inside. And I asked myself, what do I need to multiply 3 by to make 3n? And the answer is n. And what do I multiply 3 by to make 12? Well, that's 4. So 3 brackets n plus 4. Question 17. Stuart throws a biased coin 10 times and he gets 7 tails. Maxine throws the same coin 50 times and she gets 30 tails. Pressure is going to throw the coin once. Whose will give a better estimate for probability that she will get tails? And the answer there is Maxine. And it always comes down to the more trials you do, the more experiments that you do, the better an estimate of probability you will have. And it says here, use Stuart and Maxine's results to work out an estimate for the probability that pressure will get tails. So you can actually just combine them into one big experiment. In total, they threw the coin 60 times, they got 37 tails. So I'm going to say probability is 37 out of 60. Remember, always a fraction or a decimal, never a ratio. Okay, we've got this garden path and we need to cover it with paving stones. We're told each stone is a square of 30 centimetres high and wide, and each paving stone costs £2.50. Wasim has £220 to spend on paving stones. Shay has enough money to buy all the paving stones that he needs. So we can see we are dealing with an area. There's a couple of ways of doing this question. I'm going to just talk you through the way I did and then go back to an alternative method later on. What I decided to work out then was how many stones high or wide would I need. How many stones would make up a side of 120 centimetres? Well, each one is 30 centimetres, and 30 goes into 124 times. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4 stones high. I'm going to do a similar thing for 600 centimetres. How many 30s go into 600? It's going to be 20. 600 divided by 30 is 20. So this path is 4 stones high, 20 stones wide. In total, I need 80 stones. Now, each paving stone costs £2.50. So again, I'm just going to show you a little trick that I would use here. It's going to make your life a little bit easier to calculate this. So I can spot multiplying by £2.50 is not that nice, but I could quite easily turn £2.50 into 10. And this trick helps me. I'm going to split 80 into 20 and 4. So instead of 80, I'm writing 20 times 4, and then times by £2.50 at the end. Now 4 times £2.50, that's going to be the first calculation I do. 4 times £2.50 is 10. And 20 times 10 is 200. Now you could work this out any way you like, but I felt this would just be a little bit easier. So the stones will cost £200, so £220 is enough. That final mark there is for communication, very clearly saying this is why you'll be able to afford it, because they cost £200, £220 is enough. Alternatively, you could have worked out, and this is a little bit more horrible, that each stone, has an area of 900 centimetres squared. 30 times 30 is 900. You could have worked out the total area in centimetres squared here. 600 times 120 gives you 72,000. If you do the division, you would still get 80 stones. Okay, so there are many ways of doing it. I just went for what I felt would be the easiest way. Question 19. As ever, please remember unique common denominators when you add and subtract fractions. You do not need common denominators when you multiply. Just multiply together the numerators and the denominators. 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 4 is 12, 6 over 12 becomes 1/2. Okay, this question here, not the nicest. I didn't include it, but I will very briefly talk about it. We are told the length of the side of square A is 50% of the length of the side of square B. So I'm going to assume that the sides here are little b and little b. They're squares, they're going to be the same. Now I'm told that side square, their sides are 50% the size of square B, or half. So I'm going to say, and this is mathematically accurate, each side here is b over 2, or half of b. Now to work out the area of that square, I would do b over 2 times b over 2. But then I would need to chop it in half to work out the area of a triangle. So it would be b over 2 times b over 2 times by a half. Now if I tidy that up, 1 times b is b squared, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So we have got that b squared is being divided by 8. You can see very clearly the area here would be b squared. So b squared is an eighth. Sorry, this triangle is 1/8 of b squared, or 1/8 of the area of b. And 1/8 is 12.5%. Very tricky question there. Didn't include it, but at least starting that question will get you 1 or 2 of the marks. Question 21. Now I really would encourage you to recognise when you're being asked about a two-way table. Do not try and guess what the numbers would be. It's too much to go on to do this question without a table. I wouldn't be able to do it. So they've given you plenty of room. Hopefully that is the hint to you. You should be doing something in that space. So I've very quickly drawn out a two-way table. Yours may look different. You may have put the modes of transport down the left-hand side and boys and girls on the top. You may have swapped around boys and girls. You may have swapped around bus and walk and cycle. Don't really know. Doesn't matter. The examiner will not be looking for that particular order. So I filled in exactly what the question tells me. So I knew for a start there were 40 people in total. I knew there were 22 girls in total. I knew 9 girls walk to school. I knew that 7 boys cycle to school. And I know that 6 out of the 10 students who get the bus are boys. So there are quite a few things I could fill in straight away. First of all, I filled that gap in. If 6 boys get the bus, that must mean 4 girls get the bus. If we know, what was the next thing I worked out? Let me just remember. Oh yes, I can see that 22 girls in total, 4 of them get the bus, 9 walk, that means 9 must cycle. So I know 7 boys cycle, 9 girls cycle, that's 16 altogether. I know that 10 plus 16 plus this number here gives me 40, so that is 14. And then, well, that is all I need for 14. This part up here isn't particularly useful, but it is quite nice just to complete the table. Okay, so it's just a bit of a number puzzle, but you need to fill in. Okay, the number of red cubes in the box is the same as the number of yellow cubes in the box. Complete the table. So we know that this table must add up to 1. So 0.2 plus probability again is equal to 1. So 0.2 plus 2p is 1, or 2p is equal to 0.8. That means each probability is 0.4. 0.4 plus 0.4 plus 0.2 is 1. For 12 blue cubes in the box, work out the total number of cubes in the box. So I've said the total number of cubes is x. And I know the probability was created by doing 12, number of blue cubes, out of x, the total cubes, to give me 0.2. So what do I need to divide 12 by to make 0.2? So there's quite a few ways of working this out. I rearranged it, solved the equation, but I got x is equal to 60. 12 divided by 60 is 0.2. Okay, question 23 wasn't included this time round, but we're told that Dion needs 50 grams of sugar to make 15 biscuits. She also needs 3 times as much flour as sugar, so that means 150 grams for 15 people, and 2 times as much butter as sugar. That's 100 grams for 15 people. So if she wants to make 60 biscuits, she's going to need to make 4 times the mixture. So that means I need to multiply the 150 grams by 4. She needs 600 grams. And she has to buy all the butter that she needs to make 60 biscuits, and she buys the butter in 250 gram packs. How many packs of butter does she need to buy? Again, I need to multiply by 4. I know that I needed 100 grams of butter for 15 biscuits, so I need 400 for 60. So she needs to buy 2 packets. She uses 1 up fully and uses 150 grams of the second. Highest common factor of 72 and 90. You can list these or you can use Venn diagram method, but either way you will see the answer is 18. Question 25, you get to see my art skills. This is a centimetre grid, so even though there are no measurements on there, you know that that is 1, 2, 3, 4 centimetres wide. You know it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 centimetres high. So very clearly that is going to be a cylinder. If you look down on it, it looks like a circle. If you look at it from the front and the side, it just looks like a rectangle. So yeah, just try and picture a tin can. And yeah, I've drawn a very rough sketch of it there. You don't necessarily need that hidden line. I just feel like it makes it look a little bit more like a cylinder if it's included. Okay, shape A can be transformed to shape B by reflection in the x-axis followed by translation CD. What's the value of C and D? So I reflected my shape into the x-axis first of all, and then I worked out how far I'd have to move. So I'd move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the left and 1 down. And you can choose any of these points to do that. So the vector would be -6, that's 6 to the left, and then -1, that means 1 down. And final few questions. I'm just going to leave that there on the visualizer. That is getting into a very high level question there, but you can see my working out. So the way I decided to get this was multiply together the ratio for the number of packs by how many pens are in each pack. So I know the ratio for packs, if I multiply the 7 by the 2, I get 14 pens. If I multiplied the 3 by the 5, I get 15 pens. If I multiply the 6 by the 4, it would be 24 pens. So I've just rephrased this ratio. The pens themselves were solved in a ratio of 14 to 15 to 24. So in total, there were 53 shares of pens sold. And I know those 53 shares were worth 212, meaning that each share is 4 pens. So if I look at that ratio, I have 24 shares of pens. There are 4 pens in each share. 4 times 24 is 96. We've got 2 rectangles here. We're told that QR, so let's find it here, is equal to 10 centimetres, and BC here is equal to PQ here or here. The perimeter of ABCD is 26 centimetres. The area of PQRS is 4.5. What's the length of AB? Loads of information there. Break it down slowly. So I've added this onto the diagram just to help me out, all the information I know. I'm going to focus on this part first of all, the area of PQRS. So if I multiply this by this distance, I should get my area of 45. 10 times x, or 10 times my unknown, is 45. That means my unknown is 4.5. Now if this is 4.5, this is 4.5 as well, as is this side here. So I have 4.5 and 4.5 and then 2 other unknowns. If I add together 4.5, 4.5 and A, my unknowns, I get 26. So 2A plus 9 is 26. 2A is equal to 17. So A is equal to 8.5. Pretty tricky question there. And final question was mentioned last week. The turning point does what it says on the tin. It's the point where the graph starts to turn. And we can see here it starts to turn around there where I've circled it. So 1 minus 4. You do have a little bit of leeway there. And use the graph to find the roots of the equation x squared minus 2x minus 3 equals 0. You'll notice this looks very similar to what you're given up here. So the roots are just for solutions. Just have a focus. So essentially that is saying what are the values of x where your y is equal to 0. Because the only change is we've got y here and 0 here. And the roots, they are found in general where the y-intercept, where the graph crosses the x-axis. Okay, y-intercept is something else. The roots are found here and here. So the roots are x is minus 1 and x is 3. That's the 2 places it cuts the axis. Okay, so it's just a case of reading it off. So hopefully that has been helpful. If you are watching this on on Thursday the 27th. Please do spend the rest of the lesson time looking at some more of the past papers, spending a bit of time on the work. If you need anything, please do leave a message for me. Thank you.